Welcome to the Paperless Productivity Podcast, where we give you the tips, tricks, and know-how to solve your biggest workflow challenges and bring greater productivity into your workplace every day. Last time we talked about 10 great ways that government agencies can leverage a technology solution like OnBase to help meet their needs in 2019. So today we're going to continue on with that list. And if you haven't already listened to that first half of the list, make sure you go back to our last episode and get all caught up. So Kevin, you ready to dive back into this?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's dive right in.
All right.
Number 11, and this I'll just do this one quickly. It's just that OnBase can provide a way for the public to search for documents and also for you to internally to handle redactions. So a lot of times you might have documents, some sensitive information on there, but because of transparency laws, it needs to be shared publicly, but you need to redact it. So OnBase you can redact the document by highlighting sensitive areas in a document, redact them out, and then share the redacted copy out to the public so that they can search it, view it, access it, download it, but they can't see the information behind the redaction. And then within OnBase itself, you can actually keep an unredacted copy that only internal employees can actually take a look at, and that way, maintaining that confidentiality and sensitivity that's required for certain kinds of information. So that's one of the great things that you can do as well too, is make your documents searchable by the public, and also protect sensitive information that's actually in there. Number 12. This is one that a lot of people don't think about, but think of all the people, whether you're a real estate organization, whether you're tracking employee certifications, whether you've got different training that you need to just track in terms of completion of training. OnBase provides you a way that you can not only track all those certifications and continuing education credits and those types of things and licenses that need to be maintained, but you can track the expiration of those as well. You can track to make sure that enough things are being submitted with enough credits to make sure that employees are being staying current. And you can also use this to track different vendor partners, different people that are out there as well. So we did one solution, for instance, where we're tracking real estate licenses for all the real estate agents in a particular city. And we were able to track all of those, have them in, make sure that they're staying up to date with their training, who the licenses are being parked with. So as new things are coming in, we had a great spot where they could track that and maintain that. And that's one of the small tricky things that nobody really thinks about, but it turned out to be a huge solution, a huge time saver. And it's one that you can take a look at, in terms of OnBase. Number 13 kind of goes along with that. So not only do we use the case management features in OnBase to design something to track, real estate licenses, but we also using the same feature and functionality within OnBase to able to track criminal codes. So you think about every time a new criminal code or new civil code or whatever charging code that needs to be tracked by judges and attorneys and lawyers, and legislators. You can use the OnBase system to actually track those. So when a revision gets made or a new piece, so for instance, you may have a criminal code that talks about breaking and entering, and maybe you want to add a new category to that because, some new type of crime has cropped up that you need to address, that you want to, have a subsection of that code. Or maybe you're going to update an existing code and you want to track, here's a new version, but here's a previous version. OnBase does that beautifully. You can track, who accesses it. And you can also make that available to the public as well. So if they want to search for criminal codes, they can do that as well. So a lot of great things that you can do, just being able to track, not only criminal codes, but also, anything else that you want to do that would, fit into that category in terms of what data do I need to track in the system. That I don't want to build an active database that's out there. I don't want to track it in Excel. I don't want to just handle some sort of electronic PDF that I can't tell from version to version. OnBase makes it an ideal solution for things like that.
Yeah, and that's where I think this goes beyond, just logistical elements and some of the daily tasks and workflow elements. I mean, this is where, you start to see how agencies have to work with public safety as well, and how a technology solution can really help in that aspect as well. So that's it goes beyond just the workflow and the it goes beyond just eliminating paper and making things more efficient. You start to address public safety as well, I think, a lot of times with these agencies.
Yes, you're exactly correct. And a lot of times what we do, too, is that sometimes the legislative body will actually create something in electronic form that we can develop some sort of automated way to take that data and import and update, the records in OnBase. Those are things that we look at as well. We certainly do that when it comes to prosecution, for instance, where the state might issue, here's the updated codes from our legislative year, or they might put one out, every 3 months, whatever the new codes. We have an ability to actually take that in and update, the prosecutor systems that are using OnBase to actually, so they have the most up-to-date criminal codes that they can use, and they don't have to go in and look into a book or do some sort of search, because that's one of the things that criminals sometimes get off with technicality because somebody's misapplied the wrong criminal code to it, or they didn't have the most updated criminal code, and then somebody gets off the hook because of that. So those are things that we want to avoid, and it does become a public safety issue.
Wow.
So next is number 14. So one of the cool things about OnBase is that it allows you to transition your work processes to a digital flow. So a lot of government agencies, and I saw this at a recent trade show, where a lot of agencies said, hey, we are imaging our documents, we're storing them in a document management system, but we're still doing a lot of things manually, and we keep asking the question, what's next? What can we do to make this more efficient? And some of them were still scanning documents into the system and printing them out on paper and routing the paper on the organization, and then scanning it back into the end of the process, all the stamps and things attached to it. Yeah, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but if you don't have the tool to do it, that's your only option. Mm-hmm. So one of the strong points about OnBase is that it contains a highly configurable workflow engine that allows you to automate all those processes and take a lot of those steps digital, whether it's stamping a document, whether it's routing it from one desk to another desk, and just taking out some of that, that float time that it's a file is just sitting on somebody's desk, just waiting to be handed over to another person's desk, and it doesn't happen until somebody gets to it. All those things that make a process much more inefficient, OnBase takes a lot of it out of the process. So now, with the click of a button, a lot of things, the 3, 4, 5 things you used to do manually, now you can actually click a button and have those being done automatically. And this is critically important. So I'll give you a simple example. Think about you're a manager of a particular department. You put in a requisition to buy, some new chairs, some new furniture, or whatever it is, supplies, whatever that is. The invoice comes into the finance and administration office. They need you to approve that. So one of the great things about OnBase is that invoice can come in. It can be quickly reviewed by by somebody in accounting, and they can click a button that says it needs to be reviewed. OnBase takes a look and says, oh, this is purchase order 456. Looks up into your accounting system. This was requested by Jane Smith over in this department. So it routes it over to Jane Smith, sends her email, and says, hey, can you approve this? And right with an Outlook, Jane can look at the invoice, say, yes, we got all the supplies, click a button to approve. Automatically comes back to the accounting supervisor for final processing and payment. And that can happen within seconds with 2 clicks of a button, as opposed to the current process what a lot of people do, where they either interoffice mail that invoice over, they'll make a photocopy of it so it doesn't get lost, or they'll scan it in, attach it to an email, and send it over to Jane, and then when Jane gets the email, sends it back, and then maybe Jane sees the email later and says, oh, did I send this back or not? And that confusion exists, and sometimes they'll send an approval twice. So there's all kinds of things that are happening along with that, and OnBase can take all that confusion and all the extra time that's wasted and shorten it up. So think about this: if you're in a multi-department agency, city or county, state, where the agencies are spread all around, different agencies, you can bring a lot of those processes under control and make them seamless. So you're not moving paper anymore. You're not using email, which is almost like a modern form day of sneakernet. It's now something that can become so much more efficient. And now you have a full audit trail of your entire process of when that invoice went out or when that form went out or whatever it is that you're doing. It now becomes streamlined and automated. So number 15, and this is kind of the kind of wrapping up this kind of section of it, is just, think about how many Microsoft Access databases you have. Think of how many Excel spreadsheets that you're using for auditing purposes and checklists and those different things. that you wish there was a better way to do it where multiple people can actually access it and it could just track who made the different entries. Well, OnBase case management tool is designed exactly for that, to replace those Microsoft Access databases, to replace those Excel checklists that you're using, and create kind of a unified view of what's happening for something you need to audit or something that you need to track, like a IT ticketing system, for instance. Instead of using an Access database, you can use OnBase and have multiple people access it at the same time without having to think through some of those logistical nightmares that sometimes comes along with Access or having a shared Excel spreadsheet. So, and the great thing about this is that it's a tool, the case management tool, where we've been talking about a lot of different scenarios and things you can track. A lot of case management solutions can be drag and drop design, point and click configurable, as opposed to some other applications where it requires a lot of custom coding to develop, and a lot of, it requires a programmer to do. A lot of these small applications can be done all within a GUI interface within OnBase. So that's number 15. All right, number 16. Bring your Freedom of Information Act, your FOIA Act, and your public access requests for documents under control. This is one of the big challenge for a lot of agencies, especially in this day and age where, sometimes with politics and things going on, people are just asking for more and more and more information. And governments, some agencies have full-time people staffed with just taking those requests in and putting them in a queue and setting them up so that they can be handled. And some agencies are a year behind, being able to satisfy and respond to those requests, just because they're just so time consuming. They take so much time, and the information is located in so many different areas. And so with a system like OnBase, not only can you receive these requests electronically through a form, through an email or a fax, and have them automatically go to OnBase to create that next queue item for somebody to take a look at. But if your documents are in OnBase, it can make gathering those documents a whole lot easier, which frees up more room for somebody to take a look at maybe some of the content that isn't stored in OnBase that's outside it. And we'll talk about that in a minute in terms of how you can solve that. But anything that's within OnBase, it's in those various departments, instead of writing through file cabinets, you can now attach it to that Freedom of Information Act request, redact anything that you need to, and you now have a way that you can also electronically deliver that in a secure way, where you can also track to see if somebody has actually download those documents or receive those documents as well. So OnBase offers a lot of ways that you can bring your Freedom of Information Act and public access records requests under control. And for a lot of government agencies, they're racking up thousands of dollars in fines, which actually goes against your budget. But because it's so hard to even put your arms around, they just see that as a necessary expense, and it really doesn't need to be. It really could be something that you can bring under control and start being responsive to those requests, where you're getting them back in time, you're avoiding those fees, and it could be. And if you racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars of fees, in costs and staffing costs just to manage this, you really need to take a look at OnBase if you don't have it yet, because this is something that could save you a tremendous amount of time.
Okay, great. All
right, number 17 to go along with that. So we've talked about things which are in OnBase, but what about all the other stuff that's outside of OnBase? So one of the great things is that there's a tool that actually can take a look at different things that's outside of OnBase. So things that are in your email repository, things that are sitting on file shares, things that are sitting on a SharePoint drive, things that might be sitting on somebody's computer somewhere that isn't necessarily in any kind of structured place that makes it easy to find that data. And so there are enterprise search tools which are available that can help with that public records request, or it could be maybe there's your agency's party to a lawsuit that you need to find data and to be responsive to the other party's attorneys, and those are things that you need to take a look at in terms of what evidence is there. And so there are also enterprise search tools outside of OnBase that can help you with that. And in every place where this has been demoed, if you look at somebody's social security number, for instance, you would be surprised how many times that stuff turns up in unprotected areas, or things that are just sitting out in loose emails, or sitting out in a document somewhere that's out on a file share. And it's a great way for you to not only secure your data to find out what's out there that should be secured, but also a great way for you to find information that you're looking for that isn't within your structured systems, and being able to put those together to respond to a public records request. All right, number 18, we're almost there. We talked about this briefly before, but OnBase really has a tool to manage your HR processes much more efficiently. So we can either integrate it with your HR information system, or it can become your system of record that can help you with recruiting and going through the process of evaluating your resumes, to onboarding and being able to manage those different projects and tasks you have to do. So, for example, at ImageSoft, when somebody has been made an offer to hire and accepted an offer to hire, our HR administrator can go in, basically click a button, and it creates a project, notifies all the departments of all the things that needs to be done, and it tracks when each one has actually been completed. So she doesn't have to send out a million different emails to everybody to figure out what's being done, what's not been done. It's all tracked within the system, and it makes it easy and accountable, and instantly she can tell what needs to be done before that person starts, as well as once they've started, making sure all the steps are completed, or whether it's making sure that transfers are being handled correctly. If you have a government agency, and we see this a lot in different departments, like in the police department or different unions, where somebody goes to transfer from one to another, and you have to count for hours, you have to count for seniority and all those different types of things. It can help with that process, and also its separation as well too. So just bringing that whole process under control is really, really big. A great way that you can help to maintain one of your most important asset of any government agency is its people, and being able to help with that process really can just make it much more of a positive environment for you and for the staff within your agencies. And then number 19, the last one. Think about all the engineers and the facilities and road crews that things that documents need to track, whether it's manuals, whether it's CAD drawings, whether it's plans, different things. And most cities and government agencies now, somewhere within there, the larger entity has some sort of GIS or geographical information system where they're looking at different maps, some sort of mapping system they're using, and being able to, for instance, if you're on a road crew and you go out and you see a pothole and you need to maybe dig a little bit deeper to actually fix it, and you want to check, hey, what's actually underneath this road, and they pull it up on their tablet. They can pull the road map and actually click on it and go down to various layers, and they can see a pipe and maybe pull the plan for that, or maybe they can look up previous work orders that are associated with a particular area or building. Just being able to have documents on OnBase, all your manuals and drawings and work orders stored inside OnBase, being able to attach to your mapping system is such a huge benefit to you. Think of first responders when they go out; those are also big deals and things that they can do as well. And just having the quick access to those drawings and quick access to those maps and quick access to whatever it is that they need to take a look at, work orders, things that have been done in the past, so they can track that, is a huge boon for cities and counties and state agencies, to help them be more efficient in terms of maintaining the roads and public utilities. So that's number 19.
Excellent. So yeah, this is so much great information today, Kevin. And again, this is all going to be in the show notes, so you can be able to track all of this and get some of those details there if you want them. But if our listeners want to get more information on how ImageSoft and OnBase can help listeners meet their specific needs, what can they do next?
Well, they can first of all go to our website. So they can go to ImageSoftInc.com. That's ImageSoftInc.com/government. And there's all kinds of information there and different projects and things that we've done. So they can read other customer stories and get read information that's there. Or you can simply call us at 855-533-3366. That's 855-533-3366. And they will talk to a client communication specialist, and we'll be able to offer them any kind of information. Not everything that we have is on our website. We have a huge volume of stuff that we have. It would just be too much to try to find it on our website. So if you do call us, or if you go on our website and you use our contact form, or you go into our interactive web chat, we have people that are there that can help you get you some additional information, case studies, articles, things that you might find helpful as you begin to research and think about where do we go next or what do we do from here.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you again, Kevin, for sharing this information. I mean, I think this is just jam-packed with ideas for government agencies, and I hope this has jump-started the thought process for our government listeners out there. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Paperless Productivity, where we tackle some of the biggest paper-based pain points facing organizations today. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for joining us today for this episode of Paperless Productivity. This podcast is sponsored by ImageSoft, the paperless process people, which you can learn more about at ImageSoftInc.com. That's ImageSoftInc.com. Join us next time where you'll learn how to harness the power of technology, supercharge efficiency, and accomplish your organization's goals.